Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It is Connor here, and yes, we are back with another Room Mill. Hope you've had a good week. Listen, it's Friday, isn't it? We've got some stuff to go on about today, but listen, good thing is, as I've just said, it's weekend time, isn't it? So hope you're having a great time with your loved ones and your friends and all that sort of great stuff over the weekend. Let me know what you're doing. Why not? Let me know in the comments. Sometimes we can have a little bit of a lifestyle chat. It doesn't always have to be about transfers and Leeds United and outgoings and ingoings. Please do so. If you want some bonus content as well, everybody, there is the Patreon account. We've had 2 videos out this week. Loads of people seem to be enjoying it at the minute. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, the link will be in the description below as well, guys. There is now a scroll option just below the video. You can just scroll on. It says thanks, and you can click thanks, and you can make a donation to the channel. I know a lot of people don't have PayPal. They don't want to use PayPal, and that's really been the only thing that I've had set up on the channel just for donations. And you can do that after videos as well, so it doesn't have to be within live streams. Just scroll down, scroll along. There should be a thanks option if you do want to contribute to the channel and contribute to the running of the channel. A lot of you guys do ask me in the direct messages, Connor, I don't have a PayPal account. Connor, how do I do this? How do I do that in terms of a donation? That is the easiest option. It's a new Facebook YouTube thing that they've started rolling out. So there you go. Thank you so much as well for your donations. Really appreciate it. But let's get into it anyway. You can probably tell by the thumbnail, I'm a little bit frustrated today. I'm a little bit annoyed. Just because of how this saga is going. The Raphinha thing is doing my head in. I'm sure it's doing everybody's head in. And this is just going to be a real talk video. I'm obviously going to get into some transfer links and stuff like that. But you guys know the transfer links right now. It's just developing on them. It's just talking on them. It's, it's having that discussion. Now, Phillips is pretty much joined City today. Obviously, he's had his medical. The medical's been completed, this, that, and the other. We're expecting the Raphinha thing to hopefully be sorted soon and not be dragging out for much longer. I think it's just getting to a point now where you're hoping that Leeds are able to conclude this and stop this absolute circus that is Deco. And apparently last night he was over speaking with Laporta, trying to sort out another deal again. I just don't understand why he's doing this. You've got your former club Chelsea. I understand Raphinha would probably like to go to Barcelona, but it's how the cookie crumbles. There could be a potential scenario in a year or two's time where Barcelona come into money, they strike another deal with another company and they're able to get some investment, and then they can pay for Raphinha. Yes, it'll be at an inflated price, but Raphinha might not do well at Chelsea. If he doesn't do well at Chelsea, there could be a reduced price there, as we've seen with maybe Ziyech, Werner and Lukaku. It doesn't always work out at Chelsea. So there is that. There is that in the sort of pipeline, but right now it's 60 million plus. We've seen with Richarlison today. Richarlison's gone to Tottenham Hotspur. That looked like a pretty swift transfer, to be honest. Chelsea tried to hijack it. Arsenal were interested, but the deal was done. The deal was done. We've had so many sources, really credible sources, saying Barca can't afford it. They won't go above 40 million euros. Now they're putting a last bid in, which is still going to be 55 million euros, which is 47 million quid, which is 12 million quid under the asking price that Leeds United want, which is probably going to get rejected. I just don't understand. If they want the player that much, if they're willing to really barter like they are doing at the minute, don't barter, just offer up the fee. Get the fee done so we can all move on. I'm getting to that point now where I'm getting really frustrated with it. I'm getting frustrated with Raphinha. I understand why Raphinha wants to move. I completely understand it. I love him. I love what he's done for this club. But it is affecting Leeds now because we can't do anything with the money. We're not able to progress. We're not able to get players in prior to the pre-season tour, which is what I wanted. That 3 players that we got over 2 weeks ago now, maybe 10 days to 2 weeks ago now, where we confirmed Mark Rocker. We're not able to move that on now. You can sort of pre-plan for the fee, but we don't know the fee. We don't know what Leeds are going to be selling for now. Is it going to be 60 million? We've heard today that Raphinha has come out and said he wants Deco to inform Chelsea that he's not really that interested in Chelsea. Barcelona is his favourite. Now, are Chelsea going to look round and say, well, hold on a minute. If he keeps saying this, if he's not really that interested in joining us, I know this isn't how football works. I know modern football clubs, there are players who've been Arsenal fans the whole life who play for Tottenham. You look at Harry Kane, allegedly grew up as an Arsenal fan, always wanted to play for Arsenal, plays for Tottenham. There are numerous examples in football of players who don't want to go to a club and then become heroes at clubs. It happens. But, it's a constant merry-go-round this with Raphinha at the minute. Arsenal are in pole position, and it's Chelsea, then it's Arsenal again, then it's Barcelona rearing their head again. We need to sort this out quickly because Leeds need to start moving on their targets. Now, I'm also getting pretty sick of hearing this rumoured fee. Now, apparently Barcelona are not willing to now go above 55 million euros. So I'm just hoping Leeds turn around and say, well, F off then. F off. That is what it is. The fee is 60 million. Chelsea have offered 60 million. Go away. I'm just a little bit worried at the minute about how Raphinha's going about it, and we know about the transfer, and we know player power is huge. And if he doesn't want to go to Chelsea, then what do Leeds do? What on earth do they do if he just point blank doesn't want to go to Chelsea? Then he's putting us in a really crap situation, is Raphinha. Because it's almost like you accept the lower fee, you accept that lower fee of 12 million quid, or I'm going to be unhappy. Well, okay, Raphinha. Now, I'm not saying he's a stumbling block here. I'm not making complete assumptions, but if he doesn't want to go to Chelsea, and after all this time, he said he would go to Arsenal and he would entertain Chelsea, apparently, according to some decent sources. And now he's turning around and saying, "I'm not sure." It sounds like Barcelona, Deco, Laporta have all got in his ear again, and now he's willing to push for that Barca move at the expense of Leeds United. But I think we ultimately can't get to a scenario where we have recruited less than 100 million and significantly less than 100 million for Calvin Phillips and Raphinha. That would be absolutely horrendous. Now, if we are looking at the fee, we've seen Calvin today in all the Man City gear and all this sort of stuff. What we have got to consider is that obviously, Chelsea have offered a bigger fee. There's good news coming out of Leeds, obviously, yesterday that we're looking at Joe Gelhardt extending his deal. Charlie Cresswell's going to go to Millwall, which I think is a really good move for him. But I think we've heard Phil Hay say today that there is potential that Leipzig will let Tyler Adams go out on loan. There has been nothing on Mo Kamara. There's been nothing on Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo, I've been searching for 2 days now, and it's been very, very quiet. Very, very quiet when it comes to Cody Gakpo. I understand they're working on a signing at a time. We went for Mark Rockhoff, so we went through Aronson and Christensen. But it seems like we are like sort of going for, according to Phil Hay and loads of the decent journalists, for Charles de Ketelaere. Now, we're facing a bit of a problem here in AC Milan and Leicester. Leicester look to be selling Dennis Pratt to either Fiorentina or Torino. Now, if they do that, it looks like after that comes in, it's going to be about 6 to 10 million. They're going to be in a financial position to really go for Charles de Ketelaere. Now, the problem Leeds are facing is, and this is what we didn't do in the first season, when we finished 9th, you have to capitalise on that. You've got Raphinha, you've got Phillips, you've got Patrick Bamford. You have to add real artillery to your starting 11. I saw someone complaining that I'd said yesterday on the video that James and Firpo were good signings when they happened. Yeah, find me someone who didn't. Everybody thought at the time Bielsa was going to turn, because he wanted Dan James for 3 years, he was going to turn him into a serious player. We all thought that, especially when we finished 9th. So revisionism does work in football. And I still will back that up. I thought Bielsa was going to turn him into a player like he has done with every single player in this Leeds United side. Junior Firpo had the attributes to fit into this Leeds United side. Maybe not the left wing back role, but he had all the attributes to fit in. There was a couple of worries when it came down to his playing record. Obviously, he didn't play that much for Barcelona, but everyone was buzzing with Junior Firpo. Everyone thought that he would be that next player. And people who were saying, "Oh, I wasn't," that's absolute rubbish. Everybody thought they were 2 good signings. My point is, when you finish 9th, you don't just make 2 good signings. And I understand this was the plan. They were going to spend big, then they weren't going to spend as big, then they were going to go big in the 3rd year. But you can't just, I understand you've got to have a plan for these things, but when the Leeds squad was in the state it was in last summer, you can't really plan like that. Leeds United needed 2 consistent windows where you're getting out a lot of the deadwood and bringing in quality to survive. We didn't do that. We brought in 3 players, including Christopher Klassen last season, and we didn't capitalise on the fact that we'd finished 9th. We didn't capitalise on that. Now, the reason I'm bringing all that up is because Charles de Ketelaere is now probably looking at the projects that he's got ahead of him. He's got Leeds United, who finished 17th, are losing 2 of their best players, and have the ambition of finishing in Europe. They have Leicester, who've been in Europe this season, have recently won the Premier League title, and have a lot of decent assets on their side. When you look at the the players on their side, you've got Pat Sendak, you've got Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison, Fofana. They've got very, very good players in their side who are attracting European interest, so they're assets to the club. And then you look at AC Milan, who are probably going to struggle with the fee, from what we understand. They're looking as well at Ziyech at Chelsea, which might put them out of the running. But the fee, obviously, Serie A clubs, we know they don't have the same financial might as the Premier League clubs. So that might put them out of the race. But in terms of profile, they're probably at the top, but it doesn't look like they can afford him. When it comes to de Ketelaere, it's between Leeds and Leicester. So Leeds are all in. Leicester aren't all in yet. But reports are saying that when Dennis Pratt does go, Leicester are then going to go all in. This is the problem. Leicester have finished higher. They've got a bigger profile than Leeds United because of where we finished. Because of our assets being stripped, And as of right now, us not really bringing in any proper high-profile names that Charles de Ketelaere and his representatives will look at and go, oh, well, they've done that. Like we should have done in the winter window when Raphinha was looking at signing a new contract at Leeds United. He was probably thinking to himself, well, who are they going to bring in? Who are they going to bring in to help me, to help us push on? We didn't bring anybody in. So that's not matching his ambitions. For the new signings coming in, their ambitions have to be met. Charles de Ketelaere is one of the top European players in Europe. Top players in Europe, I should say. His numbers are insane. Everybody is well aware of Charles de Ketelaere. So if we're going for these style of players, Cody Gakpo, Charles de Ketelaere, I just don't think when you've got Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Leicester, Wolverhampton Wanderers as well, all these teams who are looking in and around these players as well, because they are the best talents in Europe, some of the best talents in Europe. I just don't see Leeds getting them. The Ketelaere, I do believe, will go to Leicester. It just feels like one of those sagas as well that we've been involved in loads as Leeds fans. Cody Gakpo, maybe a little bit more realistic, but once again, it's gone quiet again. Mo Kamara, it looks like he'd be really, really excited to come to Leeds, but from what we understand, that the fee is well aware, is too sort of away from what Leeds expect to pay. Now, that frustrates me a little bit because you can't expect it to be more than 25 to 30 million if you believe in reports. So then what are we doing with the Phillips money? Because you've got to get in a replacement who is more than good enough. And still, if it is 30 million, you're saving what? Maybe 15 million quid there. You can't imagine Salzburg as a club be asking for 45, 50 million. They just don't do that. It's not their style. Every player they've really sold on is of the 25 to 30 million pound marks. That is probably how much Salzburg are asking for. We've got good relations with them already. I just don't understand why that one's not been done. Now, further reports are also stating we learned earlier with RB Leipzig that they weren't willing to deal with Leeds United when the Jean-Kevin Augustin situation is going on. Apparently now they are willing to loan Tyler Adams out. Apparently that's something they're thinking about right now. So for a guy who's started barely any games in the Bundesliga this season, for a guy who's sort of fallen out of favour, for him to be someone who I don't think is a good replacement for Calvin Phillips. I've said that numerous times on here. People will get excited because it'll be the Leeds link. I'm going to stick with my guns. He might prove me wrong, but I genuinely believe Tyler Adams coming in will be an okay addition. But I think there is a better addition out there who is achievable and looks like he wants to come to Leeds. So we're all talking about these three targets. Leeds looking at these three targets. Apparently 3 targets coming in. Even Jesse Marsh has apparently seen fans in the street and saying we're going to bring in 3 quality additions. From my perspective, if these are the A priorities, we know Victor Orta works on a 3 tier list when it comes to A, B and C in terms of the calibre of signings that he wants to bring in. If this is the tier list, if we're looking at Charles de Ketelaere, Cody Gakpo and Mo Kamara, they're the A signings. What are the B signings going to be? And I think one of the B signings would be someone like Tyler Adams. I thoroughly believe that. Now, to get him in on loan, I know a lot of people will come back and say, well, it might be a loan to permanent, but it might not. And a loan to permanent depends on so many other things as well. If there's an obligation in there, he might have an awful season at Leeds United. He might have a very, very poor season at Leeds United. So then you've got an obligation to pay for him. But even just an option to pay for him, it just seems like when Calvin Phillips goes, and I know there'll be a lot of fans in here who will back what's going on at the minute and back what Phil said, but it just seems if you've got one of your primary assets going out, you have to replace him with another fantastic asset. You don't replace him with a lone player, for me. That's just not what you do. So yeah, it is a bit downtrodden, this video, guys, because normally on the Room Mill, I'm very, 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 very positive, very, very upbeat when it comes to signings and stuff like that and the profiles and what we could get. This one I am a little bit worried because I'm looking at the 3 targets and I'm thinking realistically, doesn't look like we're going to be stumping up the fee for Mo Kamara. We know De Ketelaere is going to cost a lot of money, but the competition is going to start ramping up for him. He's too good for there not to be competition. And can Leeds really sell him a profile when we just finished 17th and we're selling 2 of our best players? And then you've got Cody Gakpo, where it just seems that the lead has gone cold. Very, very cold. I mean, Phil's not even touched on him really this morning. And other journalists as well, not just Phil. Because I always tell you guys there are other journalists out there who do some great work. The Gakpo thing is very, very quiet over the past 2 or 3 days. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope more gets done, but I'm just a little bit worried. I mean, someone said to me today, and you guys will hate hearing this, but who do you think the third option is? And me and someone else who will be watching this, and me and that individual have had a chat about this. And do not be surprised if it is Harry Winks. Do not be surprised. Willing to be sold a good price from the parent club's expectation, obviously Tottenham, and he plays the defensive midfield role and he's played in the pivot multiple times. I don't think he's too, but I think people give Harry Winks a lot more rubbish than he deserves, but I also don't think he's the proper profile to replace Calvin Phillips. That wouldn't surprise me if that's the C option. Might be completely wrong. I'm putting my head above the parapet here. The person watching this, who I've discussed this with, and you know, the source is relatively decent from what I've been told. So the Harry Winks thing, put it this way, we were discussing this, me and this individual, two and a half weeks ago, and then all the links came out from good sources about Harry Winks about 3 days ago. So who knows? It might get done, it might not get done, but if that is the option, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So I'm praying that we can get, listen, if we sign all three of those players, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think we need a left back. I still think we need an experienced goalkeeper, but wow. I mean, those three would just be top signings. They'd be top Mo Kamara, Cody Gakpo, and Ketelaere. It's arguably the even though I think we need more positions filling, it would arguably be the transfer window from heaven, really. And we look at the caliber of players coming in, but I just don't think they'll get done. I just don't think they'll get done. Or if one gets done out of the three, that'll happen. Instead, I don't think we're getting two out of them. I just don't. And let me know what you think, guys. If you think I'm miles off it, then please do let me know. But try coming here with a little bit of realism. You know, we're not talking about Leeds United who finished 9th. We're not talking about Leeds United 20 years ago. We're finishing 3rd and 4th. We're talking about Leeds United whose profile is 17th place, and we're just selling on Phillips and Raphinha. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. Have